All right, we're getting to the story of the night that is actually going to be the topic for call-in. So we will do call-in tonight. Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has decided to plead guilty for misdemeanors. So it's not even for what you would think it would be for, about his business dealings in Ukraine. It is about tax issues and apparently about him having a gun when he wasn't supposed to. Let's get into it. And I want you to wonder and question, is this actually justice?
An ABC News special report.
I'm Diane Macedo. We're coming on the air with breaking news about President Biden's son, Hunter Biden. ABC News is learning he has reached a deal with federal prosecutors to plead guilty to 2 minor tax crimes and admit to the facts of a gun charge. That's according to court papers filed Tuesday. The terms would likely keep him out of jail. The Department of Justice has been navigating a politically sensitive investigation involving Hunter Biden's business activities. The charges relate to his taxes and whether he lied about his drug use on a gun application form in 2018. This investigation was led by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, appointed by former President Trump and kept on the job by President Biden and the Biden administration. The investigation does not involve President Biden. I want to get right to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, with more on this. Pierre, you have that court filing in front of you. So walk us through the details of this deal.
Diana, well, the Justice Department and attorneys for Hunter Biden have reached an agreement that would end the long-running federal investigation into his personal and professional life, according to a new court filing just reviewed by ABC News. The plea deal calls for Biden to plead guilty to a pair of tax-related misdemeanors in exchange for probation, which will allow him to avoid serving time in prison if the deal is approved by a federal judge.
Now, if this is not Joe Biden's son, does he get this same deal? Does the average American, working class, poor man who has this same charge against him, does he get this same deal that Joe Biden's son is getting? No. You see the problem? But because of who he is and who his father is, he gets a pass. Let's go on.
The deal, which was negotiated by the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, David Weiss, a Trump appointee, also includes a pretrial diversion for one felony count related to Hunter Biden's illegal possession of a firearm, meaning that prosecutors would agree to drop that charge if Biden adheres to certain terms of a program such as no illegal drug use. Sources close to Hunter Biden believe that this will end the more than 5-year investigation that has dogged Hunter and his father, both men accused of corruption, as critics have focused on Hunter Biden's business deals in Ukraine and China.
The business deals in Ukraine and China, in reference to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, by the way, these misdemeanor charges that he pled guilty to me, that does not dismiss these business dealings in Ukraine. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So just because you said you're guilty on one of these charges and the misdemeanor side, that doesn't mean you're innocent on the other ones. Of course, he's not going to be willing to come forward and say that he's guilty in reference to his business dealings in Ukraine. He's going to try to bury that shit. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, whatever. Corruption is corruption. We cannot allow ourselves to be party loyalists to the point where we're willing to give people a pass because they're a part of a particular party. This is just how it is. But this is mainstream media trying to run cover for Joe Biden. Let's go on.
And I want to bring in ABC's chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, on this. Mary, the president obviously has talked a lot about his close relationship with his son. Any reaction from the White House on this?
Yeah, well, no reaction yet, Diane, but we do know that over recent years and months, the White House, the Biden administration, has often tried to distance themselves from this investigation, not commenting on it, simply instead referring to the Justice Department. But I have to say, the president has been emphatic that he believes that his son, Hunter, did not break the law, that he did nothing wrong. We know that Joe Biden is extremely protective of his family, and he is also deeply proud of his son. I think it has pained the president to see his son but be used to launch political attacks against him for so many years now.
First of all, in reference to launching political attacks, okay, Hunter Biden is on tape. There's photos, there's videos. It is not even just about people coming after him politically. The evidence is there. But here we go.
And this president has also been very open about the very real struggle that his son has faced with addiction, which is, of course, at the center and linked to some of this investigation. He has said that Hunter, like so many American families, like so many in this country, has grappled with addiction on and off for much of his adult lifetime. And I think to see the president use what has been for him a struggle that now he's very proud of his son for having gotten through that, to see that be something that has been tried to use to launch political attacks against him has been very difficult, I think, for this president personally to watch. And Diane, we do have to say that while we are learning more about, what the president's son here, is being accused of and what has been reached here, the accusations that have been at the center of this, the accusations that Hunter has traded on family connections, that he seized on his business dealings to Ukraine. Those are the things that Republicans have tried to use to harm Biden Sr., to harm the president.
Let's say something here for just a second. She said that Joe Biden is pained to see his son go through addiction, and people try to use this for some type of political, smear job or hit job or whatever, right? Did Joe Biden think about that pain that other family members may have gone through when he co-wrote those crime bills? Did he think about that pain then? I'm going to show you a clip from that tonight too, by the way. He wants people to understand how it's painful and how his son has struggled with addiction. But Joe Biden's response to that, particularly with the crime bills, was to lock those people up. He said, I don't care. I want them off the street. But when it comes to his family, we're supposed to be sympathetic and understand the struggle that he's going through. Hunter Biden is allowed to go to rehab and get treatment. Other people were locked up. Never forget that.
The issues that Republicans have seized on don't seem to be mentioned here.
I want to bring that point to ABC's chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, joining us on the phone now. Dan, what does this deal tell us about this case, and what's not here, you think, that's notable? And what does it say, if anything, about those accusations about bribery, the laptop, Ukraine? What are we learning?
So I think you have to separate these really into two separate buckets here. One is this criminal investigation, which is initially what many Republicans were asking for. But once this investigation heated up, a separate issue arose as to what they're investigating, right? So let's talk about what this is. These are pretty technical violations. And I think it was always clear that Hunter Biden had not paid taxes for a couple of years.
You know the number of people that have been locked up for not paying taxes? Wesley Snipes went to prison for not paying taxes. And if you were, and Wesley Snipes was rich. So just imagine people who are poor, people who are working class, that can't even get bail because they can't pay for bail. So they're just stuck there. Let's make something very clear here. Why is Hunter Biden getting a pass on not paying his taxes, but everyday other people do not get that pass? Because he's Joe Biden's son. And to sit here and to listen to these commentators on ABC News pretend like this isn't a big deal. It's just we should feel sorry for him. We should come to an understanding. Why should we come to an understanding? Why should we feel some type of sympathy towards Hunter Biden just because the Republican Party decided to look into these investigations? Why should I feel sorry for this man who comes from a privileged family where he was offered everything in front of him? Give me a break. You had every opportunity in front of him. Opportunity for the great schools. I bet you he don't have any student loan debt. Opportunity for the best jobs, all because of who your daddy was, not because you were quote unquote intelligent, but because of who your daddy was. Why should we feel any type of sympathy towards this man? Give me a break. And to hear them spin it the way that they're spinning it, it's absolutely ridiculous.
It was always clear that Hunter Biden had not been honest about drug addiction on a gun form. The question was, once you pay the money back, do you still get charged criminally? And on the gun form, do people really get charged just for that violation with nothing else? Those were the questions that they were grappling with. Those questions have now been resolved in the context of this agreement. They've reached an agreement. They're going to recommend probation. If the judge signs off on it, then that case is over. The questions about Burisma and Hunter Biden getting money from China and Republican investigations of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden with regard to money coming from abroad, those are entirely separate issues and investigations. And those in the last 6 months to a year have become much more important to Republican leaders than this criminal investigation.
I don't care whether what one became more important than the other or not. The point is that Hunter Biden should be held accountable just like everybody else who has been in that situation. That's the point.
Dan, we're also now getting in a statement from Hunter Biden's attorney saying in part, it's my understanding that the 5-year investigation into Hunter is resolved. Hunter will take responsibility for 2 instances of misdemeanor failure to file tax payments when due pursuant to a plea agreement, a firearm charge, which will be subject to a pre-child diversion agreement and will not be the subject of the plea agreement, will also be filed by the government. He says, I know Hunter believes it's important to take responsibility for these mistakes he made during a period of turmoil and addiction in his life. He looks forward to continuing his recovery and moving forward. I want to focus on that part saying, this 5-year investigation into Hunter is resolved. Does that mean all of it is resolved?
I want to pause here at the part where it says his lawyer basically said that Hunter Biden looks forward and looks towards moving forward. I just want to remind you, not everyone gets the opportunity to move forward. This is the privilege that Hunter Biden has. And I want more people to call this out. Specifically, I want Democrats to call this out. In particular. Doubt that will happen, but we'll see.
No. So from the Hunter Biden team, and probably most Democrats, in particular those close to Joe Biden, they're going to try to move forward and say, okay, we've addressed this. Hunter Biden has taken responsibility. It's time to move forward. I promise you're going to hear Republicans say, particularly in the Oversight Committee, this doesn't address, that's interesting and that's important. And they're going to, criticize Hunter Biden, but they're also going to say, but this doesn't go to the heart of our investigation of the Biden family.
That's right. And that's actually what I expect them to say, too. I expect them to say, like, yeah, that's cool and all. But this is this is not enough for us. And I want you to remember what it was like for other people who had to sit here and listen to Joe Biden make this statement. Because you see, karma is a bitch. Karma really is a bitch. Chuck Modi said this. If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than a quarter, we passed a law through leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself that says you go to jail for 5 years, no probation, judge doesn't have a choice. Listen to this. I just want to remind you what Joe Biden said, 1991.
Statements, but let's look at the facts. Since 1986, Congress has passed over 230 new or expanded penalties for drug and criminal offenses in this United States. 230 new penalties. And these penalties range from an automatic 5 years in jail for any person caught with a rock of crack cocaine, a piece of crack cocaine as small as a quarter. I don't have a quarter with me, but if you visualize what one looks like, yeah, I do have a quarter. If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Now, the fact of the matter is, we've gone from there all the way up to saying, under the leadership of Senator Thurmond, and I'd like to suggest that I take some small credit for it myself as well, and others, the presiding officer, that there is now a death penalty. And we passed it a couple years ago. If you are a major drug dealer involved in the trafficking of drugs and murder results in your activities, you go to death. And
except if you're his son. Something I want you all to think about. And someone actually mentioned this in the chat. Tony said Hunter Biden was 20 years old when Joe Biden pushed this bill. He was already an adult.